welcome. My name is Dr. Stan Berman. I'm the Vice President for Academic Affairs here at William James College, and welcome to Mindful. I'm delighted today to be joined by my colleagues, Dr. Margaret Hannah, Executive Director of the Friedman Center, and by Dr. Nadja Reilly, Associate Director of the Friedman Center. We're very proud of our Friedman Center, which is engaged in the promotion of mental wellness and the prevention of mental illness, serving community needs while serving our students. This particular interview will focus on the topic of social emotional learning, something that my colleagues are very well versed in and are influential leaders and trainers in. If I could begin, I'd like to ask you to explain what is social emotional learning.
Social emotional learning is really a framework of incorporating essential skills that focus on children's social and emotional well-being into the fabric of everyday teaching. So how they're greeted in the hallway, what the school looks like, what some of the expectations and values are. And it is those climate things that really have an influence to create opportunities for social emotional learning to be a critical part of the children's experience in school, so that the focus is not just on academics, but really focusing on how children feel, their safety once they're there, and how they're able to develop emotionally.
Okay, so you are very well acquainted with the tug of war around parents who move to a particular town or city, and they're expecting their children to be very competitive, to gain admission at the most competitive colleges, and they care about advanced placement physics and are worried that attention to these issues will detract from their students, their children's success. This is not a new question posed to either of you, but could you tell me how you respond to this question?
You know, the ironic thing is that when we focus exclusively on one thing, we're ignoring the other component that is actually what drives success. So ultimately, if we're having a child who's intellectually very challenged by a class, but is not feeling emotionally present or is not feeling connected with the teacher or his or her peers, then the potential for performance decreases. So a lot of times people worry that social emotional learning means that you have to put in another program or another set of courses that would replace what are considered the academic courses. And in fact, one does not take the place of the other. What happens is that there's a complementary approach that really enhances both if it's well implemented. So for example, if that physics teacher says, just checking in, we're having a test, how's everybody doing? Can we take a little moment to just kind of take a deep breath and see how we're doing? That is a social emotional approach that can really help kids put fears or stressors aside and actually enhance their eventual performance.
So what you say is very compelling and has very strong face value. Is there a body of research that supports that SEL makes a difference?
Absolutely. So CASTLE, the Collaborative for Academic and Social Emotional Learning Collaborative, has a number of studies that have looked at children's performance over the years across a number of outcomes. And what they have found is that children who engage in social emotional learning practices, so not only programs, but practices in general, have long-term outcomes that are exceptional in terms of a lot of different pieces, including their educational attainment, their relationship status, their well-being as a citizen overall, but they also have a strong impact on academics. So they, on average, score 11 points higher on standardized testing, and they have higher grades as well. And if we take a look at measures that traditionally tell us when kids are in trouble, so like things like absences or tardies or detentions, all of those things are lower, as are symptoms of anxiety and depression.
So that's very compelling.
Absolutely.
So I know that the two of you are responsible for having developed a very innovative program And I think I'd like to turn now to you, Margaret, to hear a bit about what the two of you have developed. I understand this program is in its inaugural year, and would love to hear more about it.
Sure. So here at William James College, we've established a certificate program, and it is a graduate certificate program in school climate and social emotional learning. We're very pleased to be offering 15 graduate credits, and how we're offering this is a way that supports the literature around a systemic approach. And so therefore, we invite teams from particular school districts to join us for this certificate program. And the teams consist of an administrator, usually a principal in a school, 2 teachers, and a mental health professional. And over a 9-month period, while they're getting information and learning about various components of social emotional learning and assessment and evaluation and intervention around mental health, as well as systems and coaching, they're knowing that they're coming out with an action plan for change and improvement within their district. And the unique component of this that we feel very proud of is that we engage before a district even comes with the superintendent with his or her hope for the team and their commitment for influence with this team, opportunity for change within the district, and it's a train the trainer model. So we have begun this year with mostly having districts with sending elementary school teams, yet we also have had a high school team with us. And what we're finding is that these individuals are really learning to slow down, to think about social emotional learning in a way that is integrative, as Dr. Reilly said, and what they themselves, in a very self-reflective way, can do to support social emotional learning among their colleagues, as well as with the students in the school. So we've been very excited about the success of the program thus far, and feel really proud to be able to see, yes, we know that there's strong literature about this work, but to actually see it working with districts in the surrounding area.
Terrific. So let's bring this further alive. I understand that the teams will often have applied homework assignments, where they're to take something that they've learned in the course, and then they're to implement it, whether it be assessment or intervention or an observational study. And I think it'd be very interesting to hear a few examples of what these teams are doing back in their systems.
Well, one activity that they're doing, which has been a very rigorous activity, is that they're going through an exercise that will show them how to actually assess for evidence-based programming. We know that programs often occur in systems and agencies that feel like the right programs, but do we really have strong evidence that they are appropriate programs and that they work? And so we did not want to go in saying, don't use X, don't use Y. We thought that the best approach was to show them how one assesses for evidence-based, using programs that they might be familiar with, even programs that they are already using, and use the rubric for evidence-based, and then make decisions about their action plan based on that. And that's been a rigorous and challenging exercise for them, but yet very worthwhile.
So let me flesh this out a bit more
Sure.
with you. For example, an set of elementary schools in a town had a guest speaker who's written 2 books on bullying.
Sure.
She's a very charismatic and engaging speaker. People were very engaged and excited about implementing her anti-bullying program. And it's gone on now for 2 or 3 years. And many of the teachers and parents feel enthusiastic about the program. And now you're suggesting, great, and now let's see what the outcomes are.
William James College, that's what we're committed to as faculty members, that we have to be able to teach our students what the evidence is for our programs. And if they make decisions in districts after that, okay, yet we have a responsibility here at the college to make sure that we're teaching them the appropriate strategies for looking at evidence-based.
Nadja, I wonder if you can provide us with another example of the kind of take-home the students have had in their first term with us in the program.
Well, I think a very significant assignment for them has been to really create a vision statement around what it is that they want their district to accomplish. We really want them to come away with an action plan that will inform the strategic planning for the district for the next 3 to 5 years. And although creating a vision statement, initially one thinks, okay, well, this is what I would love to happen, I think that was one of the hardest exercises for them, because the field of social emotional learning, there are so many ways that people have interpreted it or understand the language in different ways, or perhaps think that it focuses only on a particular curriculum. So for them to really go back and then start from the beginning to understand what that framework is, that systemic approach that Margaret was talking about, and then think about how that relates to what they want for their students in their districts, that was, again, rigorous, challenging, but I think they are all feeling like that was the direction they really needed. And so with each subsequent course, there's another component of the action plan that is put into place. And at the very end, with the conclusion of it, that team goes back to the superintendent that has all along been, really investing his or her time and has been so committed to this, to say this is what the team has come up with, and then really give them the permission to then go ahead using that train the trainer model to reach out to others in the district and continue that work over the next 3 to 5 years.
But here at the college, we're primarily and historically a graduate program. We're very excited now also to be an undergraduate program. And has SEL thinking been sneaking up and into higher education, or is that a next chapter?
I think it has, and a lot of our colleagues in the educational leadership field have already been thinking about this in some ways, but I think what has happened is that it's been it's been kept in a particular lane. And what Margaret and I are so excited about is that by using this team approach and by coming from the Department of School Psychology, we can broaden that to really include many more perspectives. So it's not just the administrators who are making the decisions, but it's really, more in line with that systems perspective to have all of the constituents take a look at what that means for their districts.
When you take this back to the classroom and describe this to interns who are training at the Friedman Center, or describe it to school psychology students, do they see a way that they, as school psychologists, can be influential in promoting SEL?
This is a leadership opportunity when these teams come, and we very much hold the value that our school psychologists will be leaders, our school psychology trainees. We're training them not only in the skills and areas of expertise they need to know to be influential school psychologists, but to be leaders as well. So what we do in the classroom is reinforce leadership. This is an opportunity to be leaders, yet we also walk our talk in that when we teach in our academic work is that we model SEL practices. So as Nadja said, that greeting the students in a particular way is a social emotional learning practice. We make sure that we do that in the classroom with our students as well. So if it might look like when you walk past a classroom that I'm teaching where I would have students using a drum to talk about some of their feelings or some work we're about to do, on first pass someone might say, what is that about? But the reality is that practice in and of itself is an opportunity to sometimes regulate individuals, help them with stress relief, and that's social emotional learning in and of itself, incorporated right in whatever the particular academic subject is we're teaching.
I want to close with the tagline of the Friedman Center. I know that you early on were very focused on infants and toddlers and preschoolers, and now your purview is across the developmental life cycle. But in your tagline, you talk about prevention and promotion. Many of us who are in the mental health field, which is some but not all of our viewers, are very familiar with those terms. The general audience may be less familiar. Perhaps we could close with just a quick look at why would the Friedman Center be invested in prevention and promotion of what?
We are absolutely invested in the prevention of mental illness, knowing, of course, that we're not able to address everything that might contribute to the development of a mental illness, but the literature really tells us that there are ways that we can build protective factors to be able to give skills and to be able to create systems of support that will prevent either more symptoms from developing or at all. And so across our programs, we're very committed to three main things to do that. One is skill building, the other one is increasing self-efficacy, and the other one is building social support. So the prevention piece across our training, across our system delivery of preventing mental illness, and the other piece is mental health promotion. And those are all of the daily things that we should all be doing to maintain emotional health and wellness and balance. So things like eating well, sleeping well, connecting with others, sharing how you're feeling, finding different things that make you feel connected emotionally, spiritually, intellectually. And so those are also the kinds of messages that we infuse into our training programs. So when they leave the Friedman Center, all of our interns definitely know how to have this, and we also infuse it into our programs.
Well, I want to thank you, Margaret, and thank you, Nadja, so much for joining us today.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.